So today I crossed another milestone on my sci-fi book writing project. I made it to 60,000 words, which is about 240 pages. So we're around 60% of the way through with it. I've been writing it by hand. I started out on the computer, but I've been putting it in little notebooks, and this is my journal, Lockbee. It's like wax canvas. And I don't know, it just gives me like a sense of fulfillment every day to like do my writing in here and then just like store it and zip it up, and it feels like I've accomplished something, you know? But yeah, here's what it looks like. It has definitely not been without struggle, you know? This is probably the hardest 10,000 words that I've written for the entire project for a number of reasons, which we're gonna discuss. I've got a little list of topics here to go over. It's mainly, honestly, like stress and weather and stuff like that. It's been awful here in Rochester, New York. It's been cloudy for 2 weeks, and I'm really feeling vitamin D deficient, you know? It's not just that, it's also like the lack of like beauty, you know, outside. Everything's just gray. When I film my videos, it's gray, you know? And when I get into weather patterns like this for like 2 weeks, I just can't sleep well, you know? My body starts aching, and just like the gears of, you know, my life are just grinding. So yeah, it had been pretty rough, but a couple other things happened too that made writing really difficult lately. And one of them is that like the diet that I'm eating, I'm having to order everything because it's a raw primal animal-based diet, and like the grocery store food is not gonna cut it in terms of quality or ethics or any of that stuff. But the difficulty is that like if you forget to order something, you're like screwed for a whole week. And so I got my like Amish farm where I order raw milk from messed up. I had it on a subscription, you know, so like I wouldn't forget. So my ADHD brain wouldn't like skip over a week, but somehow I like messed up and scheduled like a week after I should have. So I had to go a whole week without my raw milk with kefir, which is like my main source of probiotics. So I was really tired from that. And then like the third thing, kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back lately, was last week I went to my dad's art show. He had some really cool photography work. Like this is an old piece, but just to give you an example, he'll do things like this. He's a really good traditional black and white photographer. You know, he develops his own film, but then he'll make really cool woodworking stuff, you know, frames to go around them. And then he'll also do like really wacky things with wood. Like here's this magnetic board that he designed. I made the little Don Quixote with the triangle shapes here, but you can like move them around, and I don't know, he's done crazy things. Like he's made this like mama fish thing where he wrapped like a wooden fish in gauze and called it the mama fish, you know? So I don't know, he's just like so talented, you know? But anyways, he lives out in like a rural area, and there's just no market, you know, for anything that he does. And he's like retired now, but still. So we go to the art show, and it's just like his art group, you know, other artists that are struggling, not really making any money. And at the end, he only sold like one piece, you know, which is like really depressing. And he'd already marked things down. And then one of the people from the art group, who are like the main people that buy the artwork, you know, they're just like buying each other's artwork. She comes up and she really wants to buy one of his things, but you know, she doesn't have a lot of money, and none of the people that are there have a lot of money. So she's like, yeah, can I buy it? And my dad's just like, okay, $15, you know. And this is like something that if you're quantifying the time, probably took him like $250 worth of time. And it's like sad, it's humiliating, and it's moments like those that make me feel like just like a bad son or something, you know, because I really like want to help my dad, but they're just like all these things, these problems, you know, that he has. Like he's just so far behind in life. If I was gonna help him, like, you know, he doesn't know anything about marketing. He started his own business at one point, and he failed because he was too nice and he didn't charge what he's supposed to charge, what he needed to charge, you know. So there's like confidence issues, and there's like health issues of not eating the right diet, and part of it is because, you know, there's not enough money, you know, to buy the quality of food that he needs. So like every time something like this happens, I feel like I'm being crushed, you know, by this massive to-do list of all these things like not even that many people that I have to help, just like parents. I mean, really, even just that is like a huge to-do list. But I'm still trying to solve my own problems. I'm working on my van build, and that's taking forever, and it's expensive. And, so like I'm pouring my money into that, I'm pouring my money into food, and there's like nothing left over to help anyone else. So yeah, like all of that, the typical things that I've talked about on this channel just kind of like set me into a spiral. And the past 2 weeks, I really hadn't written that much. I wrote maybe a few thousand words over the course of 2 weeks when I was writing 1,000 words every single day. And on top of all of that, I think the other thing that I got stuck on was like, I had come to the end of this like really fun chapter where the book is set in a fallout shelter. It's kind of like post-apocalyptic. And there is this evil security officer who confiscates an item from the main character who's like 10. So he hatches this plot with this friend that he makes down there to kind of like do a mini sort of Ocean's 11 type heist and get it back. And so that was really fun to write, but then I got done with it, and the next thing that I was going to do is she sort of like punishes him for something else by making him and his friend have to follow this like really rigid schedule the next day where they go into a classroom and there's like no teacher, it's just automated, and just all this like really boring stuff where they don't have any time to like conspire to figure out what's going on in the base. So anyways, that was like chapter 12 was like the heist, and then I thought that was going to be chapter 13, but there was this like awkward period where the main character is like in the office and he pulls the heist off, but then it's not the next day yet. So there's like this awkward amount of time where he had to like do something, and I don't know, I just got stuck there. And for like days, I just couldn't figure out what to write. I just like wasn't motivated. And this is the third time that I've gone into like a big dip, writing this project. And the first 2 times I figured it out. And then, of course, every time you think that when this happens, you're not going to be able to figure it out and you're just like done, and you're going to go back to not being motivated, which is what it was like for me for like decades before this, essentially, because I just could never stick with any kind of writing project. But I figured it out. I woke up at like 2 in the morning today, and I just wrote like 1,000 words. And the solution that I came up with was that there's actually supposed to be a chapter in between those 2 chapters, and I called it debrief. So the 2 main characters, or the main character and his friends, have formed this like secret alliance called SALT. It's the secret I can't tell you what the L is because it's a character's name, which I'm trying to keep secret, but Task Force is the last, so they call it SALT. But yeah, so the main character comes back to the dormitory area, like the boys' dormitory. He's realized, because he's hacked into the security officer's computer, that there are like video cameras everywhere, and there's even an audio monitor inside like the closed off little cubicles that the people sleep in. And so there's like nowhere safe now for them to have a meeting. So he realizes that he has to find the microphone and then like puts a piece of gum on it to to block out the sound. And then they can talk about like the debrief of like what happened in the heist, like both of their parts. And then after that, they like take the gum off, and then they start messing with the security officer by pretending they're doing their homework, but just answering the questions completely wrong. So anyways, the thing that I kind of learned from going through this third slump on my huge book writing project is like, first of all, the value of just letting things kind of stew in the back of your mind. Like, I know there's this advice, and I've given it before, of just writing every single day, no matter what. But the more that I've gotten into this project, the more I think that's a really bad idea, because some days, something's just off, whether it's your nutrition or your sleep or weather or stress or all of the above. And no matter how hard you try, no matter how much you just sit there and force yourself to work, sometimes it's just not going to come. And I think it's just a waste of time creatively, because when you try to write or create or, make music, etc., in that type of mindset, you just end up putting out garbage that you have to edit down, spend more time editing down later than you would have if you had just waited until you were feeling it again. But the other thing that I've really learned with this project is the importance of having one goal for absolutely everything. So I have one goal for the book, like what's the main theme of the book, and then also like what's the main idea of each chapter, and then what's the main idea of each page and each paragraph. and each sentence and each word even, you know. And then when you start to break up things into those little modular components, it makes your writing a lot clearer. It also makes it easier to come up with ideas. And for me, I don't really do much planning, to be quite honest. Most of the stuff from this book has just been coming straight from my brain, you know, sitting down on the page. And it's actually been really organized. You know, there's a very linear, suspenseful, but definitely not rambling, you know, structure to the book. And it's just come from looking at the end of each sentence and thinking, like, what did I accomplish with this sentence? And then what do I need? Like, what one word? And then what string of words do I need to move the story along one step by a time? Man, but it feels really good to be back in the swing of things. I just personally, I don't know about you, but I feel like miserable when I get into one of these slumps and I can't figure something out creatively. I know the thing to do is just kind of like let go of it and work on other stuff for a few days or however long it takes, but it's really difficult for me. I'm not, I don't know, I haven't reached the level of creative zen yet where I can let go very easily. But another project that I've gotten into is sewing. I made this little like blindfold, sleeping blindfold for myself. I'm gonna make a few more, but I ordered some silk and an old sewing machine, a Singer 201, which I'll show you in a sec. But yeah, it's a bit rough, you know, I'm just learning. But it was really fun, it was relaxing. And I was just trying to find some other things to do that don't involve like getting on the internet, you know. Even when I'm being productive on the computer, I just don't like being on the computer. It just sort of drains my energy. But let me show you this sewing machine. This thing is an absolute tank. Ready for this? Go! Oh, good. Oh, there it is. It's all glory. I think it's from the 1940s, this one. It's not in, you know, perfect shape. There's some surface rust and all that stuff, but it sews pretty well. Basically, I got a sewing machine because I just got really sick and tired of clothes not fitting me. You know, I literally have like 2 pairs of pants that work for me. I have the Alpine Design hike pants, which I really love. But the only color they have that I like is green, and it doesn't go with a lot of the things that I have, and I haven't been able to find other pants. I also have my s.a.d pants, which are also green, which I like, but again, doesn't go with a lot of things, and they're tighter than I would want for pretty much everything except for climbing trees, which they're really awesome for. But I also was just sick of like trying to check all of these boxes, you know, like I don't want toxic dyes, I want organic fabric, I want things that actually fit my like long lanky body in a style that matches the vibe that I'm trying to go for, and that is basically impossible to find these days. So I just felt like I was spending all of this time just like scrolling through pages and pages on, you know, Pinterest and YouTube and articles from GQ, whatever. And I was just sick of it, you know. I thought, like, why not spend all of this time actually doing something I would enjoy, you know, like sewing clothes. So it'll take me a while to get better, obviously, but it's a pretty cool pursuit and it's been really relaxing to me. I think I'm gonna get into knitting as well. I wanna make some toe socks because I really like my Injinjis, but they're only 75% wool. Which is more than any other sock brand, but I like to make socks that are 100% wool and undyed. And it's one of those things where I just want to be able to check the boxes, you know, with all of the health factors in my life, you know, like with bedding and the van, the lighting, and you know, just all that stuff. Anyways, things are coming along. I hope it starts to get warmer and more sunny for all of us because it's pretty miserable trying to get through this type of weather. See, it's already making me sleepy. I haven't even been recording for that long. But yeah, thank you guys for hanging out, and I'll be back with more updates on my sci-fi book soon, as well as barefoot reviews and other stuff. So catch you next time. Peace.